Buenos dias, amigos. It is I, the man who completed the Kessel run in less than 11 parsecs. El Ojo. Welcome back as we bring to you the last and final film in the Las Luchadoras film series. In La Horripilante Bestia Humana. Although considered a part of the Las Luchadoras film series, this film only includes one luchadora, Lucy Osorio. Directed by Rene Cardona and written by both Rene Cardona Sr. and Rene Cardona Jr., who you may actually remember starred in the 1954 film El Enmascarado de Plata, playing the character Pecas. This film stars Norma Lazarno in the role of Lucy Osorio. She also starred in the 1968 film Hasta el Viento Tiene Miedo and the 2009 film El Estudiante. She also starred in 9 episodes of La Rosa de Guadalupe and 4 episodes of Como Dice el Dicho. This film was released in 1969 and rated R. This film includes horror, nudity, and the return of the beloved actor Armando Silvestre, the original Arturo. Unfortunately, this is the last film in the Las Luchadoras film series. With a 4.9 on IMDb, does this film deserve the middle-of-the-road rating? Or did being rated R hamper the film? Let's find out. Title card: La Horripilante Bestia Humana. Yellow horror letters with a red background, as a campy blood hand fills the screen with a black background. In the opening scene, Lucy Osorio puts on a red lucha mask, which kind of looks like the exact mask from the 1968 film La Mujer Murciélago. Except this mask is red instead of a blue-purple. Arturo walks in, and apparently they are a couple. He helps her put on her lucha mask. Match number 1. Lucy Osorio versus some green girl. It is nice seeing luchadoras with masks upholding the ancient tradition of lucha. 6 movies into the series. Anywho, during the match, Lucy throws her opponent so hard out of the ring, she lands on the floor and bunks her head. She is injured and cannot move. At Hospital Central, a receptionist is taking calls and sends an ambulance to the arena. Dr. Krallman walks by and she tells him, "You have a meeting tomorrow." He responds by saying, "Okay." He leaves the hospital and enters a teal car. Wait, is it the same teal car from the last movie? It doesn't matter. We then see a sign, Zoológico de Chapultepec. Still open today, by the way. You can actually check it out if you're ever in Ciudad de Mexico. Dr. Krallman and his driver Goyo break into the Chapultepec Zoo. We see an orangutan, the smartest of all primates. In fact, local folklore from Borneo says that orangutans could talk, but choose not to, as a sign of their high intelligence, because they're afraid if they did, they'd be enslaved and put to work. Which, looking at humanity's history, would definitely happen. Dr. Krallman shoots a man in a gorilla suit with a tranquilizer and knocks him out. Once asleep, Dr. Krallman shows his intelligence by sending Goyo into the gorilla cage. Back at Hospital Central, Arturo Martinez and Lucy Osorio ask a random doctor how her opponent from earlier is doing. The random doctor says she has a fractured skull and needs emergency surgery. He also explains they need the specialist, Dr. Krallman. Meanwhile, Dr. Krallman goes to visit his son, Julio, a man who looks like Elijah Woods, but is not. Unless Mr. Woods is a time traveler or a vampire. We, the audience, find out that Julio is sick. Dr. Krallman tells Julio he has to go, but he will be back. Outside the surgery room, Lucy stops Dr. Krallman and asks if her opponent will be okay. He responds with, "We will now need to wait." In some random hospital office, a group of 3 doctors tell Krallman that Julio's leukemia is strong, and his son's days are numbered. Back at Dr. Krallman's mansion, he gives some genuinely awesome bedside manner to Julio and tells him you will be healed. The diagnosis is great, which is what you should do when someone is sick or injured. Dr. Krallman is sad, but his son Julio smiles. Dr. Krallman goes to his evil lab and tells Goyo, "We will do the surgery." For some reason, we go back to the same lab. Goyo shoots the gorilla with a tranq, and the gorilla falls. The professor gives us exposition. He says maybe the blood of a powerful animal like a gorilla can eliminate the cancer in Julio's blood. Krallman will also do a heart transplant, so Julio's body can handle the new blood. By the way, this has no merit in science. you would probably have better luck using the blood of a bat or a naked mole rat. The point is, children, if you are sick, do not do blood transfusions with any animals. Cut to the operation. The doctor cuts open a pig, and it is really campy. I love it. I cannot do it enough justice. You can actually find the movie online at the time of recording. It is actually on Tubi. Go to the 15:49 minute mark and see the operation. It's shot really well with a good score, close-ups, and a quirky machine. He lives. His son survived the experiment. Match number 2. Lucy Osorio versus some wrestler that is wearing black and white. Our hero lost? What? Honestly, it is about time. I think they should do this more frequently in Lucha movies, where the match ends in a no contest or a DQ, and wins their final match by using something they learned fighting the monster. But hey, what do I know? Back at Kralman's evil lab, the son, in a plastic box, is relaxing. Kralman tells his son to relax, and orders Goyo to move the gorilla to the incinerator. I know doctors are rich, but how big is a doctor's house? Meanwhile, at the Chapultepec Zoo, a man walks by with melons, and doesn't see a gorilla, and runs away. It only took a few days to notice a gorilla was missing. Sign, Jefe Guardias de Zoológico. The chief of security, played by Nathaniel Frankenstein Leon, is mad. They can't find the gorilla. Back at the locker room, Lucy is getting dressed, and Arturo walks in. Funny enough, she has the door locked, and she actually has to let him in, which is the smartest thing any of the luchadoras have done. They kiss, and she asks him to invite her to dinner. Arturo agrees, but only if she wins. They laugh. Match number 3. Norma Laser wins after applying La Estrella Fantasma, a variation of the Fabi Apache pin. After the match, a coworker tells Arturo that an ape escaped from the zoo, and the chain was broken, and the inspector wants to see him tonight. This news is so important, Arturo interrupts Lucy while she showers. She tells Arturo, "You love your boss more than me," and closes the door. Good thing she's not mad. Back at the lab, Goyo brings everybody food, but everyone is asleep. He cleans the office, but it's a trap! Julio turns into the ape man with a scar, and escapes through a window. Kralman and Goyo get rifles and chase after the ape man. In an alley, the ape man walks and sees a woman shower in her apartment building. The ape man scales the building and goes inside. And we get gratuitous nudity. We also get, in my opinion, the worst part of the movie, where the ape man essays the woman, then unalives her. The victim yells so loud the neighbors actually call the foreman of the building to open the door. And it's actually shot really well. You can actually see the blood on not only the victim, but the furniture. Once they open the door to the apartment, the foreman looks on in horror. You know what? I'm calling it. Go and watch this movie. It's actually on Tubi at the time of recording, and it's also in English. It's also on Amazon, but I don't have Amazon money. Darn you, Jeff Bezos. Kralman and Goyo find the man-ape scaling the girl's apartment, and they drive to the other side of the building to cut him off. But the Beastman escapes. A boy is walking down an alley in the middle of the night, and I thought the Beastman was going to attack him, but the ape man walks away, and his dad hits him with a tranquilizer. Back at the apartment, the body of the victim is taken out of the apartment, and Arturo asks what happens, but the crowd just talks over each other. Back at the Kralman house, he has a pity party, and could not believe this could happen. The doctor says he will turn into an ape man and back into a human, and back and forth. He says the only solution is to do a heart transfusion with a living human. That way, it can stop the transformation. The doctor comes up with a cruel idea. The doctor says he will use the girl from earlier, and use her heart because she will die anyway. And even if she lives, she won't walk. Wow, I guess he is pretty evil. Goyo agrees to take Lucy's opponent from the hospital, and Kralman tells Goyo to fix the window, and inject the beast every 8 hours with a tranq. Lucy goes to visit her opponent at Hospital Central, but the nurse says she can't accept any visitors at this time. Back at the Kralman lab, the man-ape wakes up, and in a fit of rage, walks out through the fixed window. Meanwhile, Kralman and Goyo prepare to take Lucy's opponent from the hospital. At the city park, the ape man walks in and attacks a couple that's making out at a park bench. Good. PDA is gross. Go make out at home. He eliminates the man by hitting him with cheap Halloween blood, and then attacks another woman. It's a very unsettling scene as the girl screams in horror. At the doctor's garage, Kramen and Goyo return with Lucy's opponent. Back at the park, the victim wakes up and runs into a shop with two men and screams for help. One of the two men calls the cops. The less smart man runs into the woods with a knife, but it's a trap. The not smart man has a knife used against him by the ape man. Kramen notices the ape man is not in the lab. Meanwhile, the ape man attacks some random man in an alley. A crowd is gathering at the park, and Kramen arrives and looks on in fear. Meanwhile, in the alley, an old lady stumbles across the body of the random man and yells. Kramen and Goyo find the ape man and shoot him with a trank. Just in time because the cops and the ambulance arrive. Arturo arrives at the park and wants to know what is going on. He goes to the shop and speaks with a woman. Meanwhile, on the TV, we hear news that a gorilla escaped from the zoo. We get some more gratuitous nudity. Remember, do not watch this with children because this movie is rated R. We are back in the surgery room, and again, it looks very real. I don't think it's a person, I think it may be a pig, but the effect looks really awesome, and the way the blood splatters and the way it's shot with the sound, audio, and lights, you can tell what's going on. Go watch this film. After, the doctor tells Goyo to burn the cadaver. Back at the hospital, a nurse goes to give Lucy's opponent some food, but her room is empty? She tells the doctor and they go tell Kramen about the missing woman. The hospital calls Kramen and tell her that Lucy's opponent is missing, while Kramen asks Goyo if all her ashes are gone, and orders him to burn wood to hide her ashes, but wait until the phone call is finished. Kramen pretends to be upset. He starts to yell at his staff. She couldn't have left, unless she is kidnapped. The board members of the hospital try to come up with a solution. Their solution is she sleepwalked herself out of the hospital. Kramen says he agrees, but if they can't find the body soon, the hospital will have to contact the authorities. At the Secret Service, they gather clues. The fingerprints of the attacks seem to be two different people. They seem to be located in one general area. A gorilla disappeared from the zoo, and a witness describes a beast man. Arturo says a gorilla was stolen from the zoo and is now a half beast, half human. But the inspector, like most bosses, brushes it off and says, "That sounds more like a late night movie." Wink. Goyo comes in and asks if Kramen has read the paper. Apparently, the authorities think a half beast, half human is terrorizing the city. The professor prays and says he only needs 6 more hours. He waits by the ape man and he slowly transforms back into Julio. Kramen tells Goyo they need to move him slowly so they don't start a transformation. They put Julio back in bed. In Arturo's squad car, he calls the Secret Service and asks to be connected to Lucy. Hold up. In this scene, Arturo's driver looks exactly like Ruben Aguirre. You may actually remember that name, Ruben Aguirre, or Professor Girafales of El Chavo del Ocho fame. I actually went on IMDb, but I couldn't find anything. So if anybody can confirm or disprove this theory, please leave a comment below. The operator connects Arturo with Lucy, but she's in the shower, so she just lays naked. There is a lot of nudity. Anywho, Lucy and Arturo agree to meet later that night. Dr. Kramen leaves his house to go to Hospital Central. Meanwhile, red lights flash over Julio, symbolizing danger and the transformation into the beast. Kramen arrives to Hospital Central, but when Goyo goes to check on Julio, he sees an empty bed and goes back downstairs. But it's another trap! The ape man is back, and he attacks Goyo. Kramen returns home and calls for Julio, but there is no response. To be fair, I feel like most teenagers are like this. Kramen goes to his son's room and tries to reason with the ape man, but he falls and hits his head on furniture. In this scene, you can actually see the actor didn't want to have Halloween blood because they only put a few drops on his forehead. Julio puts Kramen in his bed so he can heal from the scratch, and he leaves through the window. Does being a beast man mean you can't use doors? A nearby cop hears a commotion and is attacked by the ape man, and the ape man is nice enough to send the officer to sleep. Lucy arrives mid-attack, and for some reason gets out of the safety of her car and runs into the park nearby. The ape man catches up to Lucy, but her clothes stays intact. Arturo sees the ape man and points a gun at him, but Crawlman stops him from shooting. Luckily, they are able to find Julio passed out instead of the ape man. The rest of the police arrive at Crawlman's house and find the secret lab. This lab has 4 known levels: a lab, a cellar, a ground floor, and a first floor. Arturo finds the incinerator and he asks a detective to have it analyzed. At the hospital, the ape man adds a male nurse to his list of victims. He follows a female nurse and finds a little girl. Somehow, the ape man and the little girl end up on the roof of Hospital Central, as Crawlman hears the police saying, "Eliminate the monster." Arturo goes to the roof and makes his presence known, but instead of shooting the ape man, he lets Crawlman come out and plead to the beast. The professor asks to surrender the child. Meanwhile, on the ground floor, the cops below shoot at the ape man. Julio goes to the shadow realm, and the doctor cries and asks for forgiveness. Afterwards, in Arturo's car, Lucy asks, "How did you figure out what happened?" Arturo says the professor went crazy, but he snapped out of it, just to confess. And I love the closing line. This is sad, really sad, as the car drives away to a heroic song. Finn. This is a bloody good film. Las Luchadoras, or Luchadora, didn't really have any impact on the conclusion of the film. She was often treated as a damsel in distress. Honestly, this film is more of a story of a father trying to save his son than it is a woman fighting for justice. I will repeat, this film is actually on Tubi. At the time of this recording, I will leave a link in the description below. Seriously, go out of your way and watch this film. It is gory, and the monster actually feels like a threat to society. Anywho, stay tuned for next month, as we have a special bonus episode to conclude our female luchadoras of yesteryear, because there are a lot more luchas de tres caídas coming your way. Wait, what happened to Venus? Does Arturo only date luchadoras? How did the zoo not notice a gorilla missing? Why did its zoos have a security force?